Just to be sure, there's a spoiler. The Young Sheldon spinoff Season 1 ended without letting Sheldon appear in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, and one character development made the reason why evident. Despite starting off weeks after the events in Young Sheldon's finale and sharing most of its characters with the parent series, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 did a great job at separating itself from it. Indeed, the sitcom immediately established its focus on Georgie and Mandy's family life and couple problems, along with presenting the McAllisters with a bigger focus on their best qualities and flaws, which partially drove the story forward. In addition to differentiating itself from Young Sheldon, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage also had to seamlessly introduce the storylines that have to be part of the sitcom due to its focus on Georgie, as The Big Bang Theory had already revealed key developments of his life and the Coopers. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage alluded to this through various mentions of problems between the couple in Season 1, but it also had to introduce how Georgie would eventually become a successful tire entrepreneur. The reason for Sheldon's absence from First Marriage has nonetheless to do with something else entirely. Welcome to Movie Spy. Sheldon is the only Cooper family member who didn't appear in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1. Mary, Missy, Connie, and even George Sr. all appeared one way or another. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 had several appearances from Georgie's family, but none included his little brother Sheldon. While Missy and Connie's appearances were on the lower side with 4 each, Mary appeared a whopping 7 times, with her storylines being central in relation to her children and to the feud with Audrey. Surprisingly, even George Sr. could appear despite his death in First Marriage Season 1, with his couple of scenes in Georgie's dreams deeply ingraining the importance of taking care of himself, which also let Georgie reflect on his grief after George Sr. died so young. Georgie's family's storylines were relatively central and interconnected with Georgie's and the McAllisters. Instead, Sheldon was only mentioned in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1, usually in comparison to Connor or when discussing Missy. Whenever Sheldon came up in any exchange, Georgie could contemplate and partially regret their not being closer, especially considering how close he is to Connor. Sheldon not appearing in First Marriage made sense, as moving to Caltech in Young Sheldon's ending meant he was busy building up his life as known in The Big Bang Theory. However, Sheldon's absence was also good for First Marriage. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage needed to establish Connor as its Sheldon replacement. That couldn't have happened with Connor in Sheldon's shadow. The McAllisters' appearance as a family in Young Sheldon had already established a similarity between Sheldon and Connor, even if Connor was eventually recast and rendered less judgmental in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. The two characters bonded over their lack of interest in football and enthused about their respective interests, science for Sheldon, music for Connor. In Young Sheldon Season 6, Episode 12, Connor's storylines in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 instead portrayed him as a jovial guy completely focused on his interests, whose behavior was perceived as odd by his family, but who was quintessentially good. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 let Connor, without a doubt, stand out as the comic relief in a family exceptionally prone to getting into fights, whether it be for minor or major reasons. However, Connor's storylines also showed that he was much more than his preternatural ability not to get into conflicts, with Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1 effectively portraying him as a character who genuinely cared for his family and put the time in to support them and nurture them. The focus on Connor helped shape the McAllister family dynamics and differentiate his eccentricity from Sheldon's. Sheldon being the connection between The Big Bang Theory and its spin-off Young Sheldon makes his character one of importance, who could easily overshadow the main story with his presence. Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage, starting right after Young Sheldon, after its parent series had a smaller number of episodes to conclude its many storylines, would have easily had a worse chance to establish itself as different, especially considering its characters were also a big part of Young Sheldon. Moreover, Connor's development wouldn't have been achievable if Sheldon had appeared, as the socially inept genius's presence would have overshadowed him. Why Connor is already better than Sheldon after just one season of Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage. Connor is generally nicer, less judgmental, and has potential for growth. Given The Big Bang Theory had established Georgie and Mandy's divorce, and Young Sheldon had done the same with Audrey and Georgie's conflict, he proved more than an emotional buffer and comic relief in Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 1. Indeed, Connor matured, and his storylines highlighted his emotional depth through his worries about his future and disappointing his father, Jim. Connor's relationship with Chloe also let him show another side of himself, all in all delivering a well-rounded character, as well as Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage's breakout star. Connor, Being an effectively new character, not part of the Big Bang Theory's world, makes his potential limitless. Despite being inevitably presented as Sheldon's replacement because of his eccentricities, Connor proved he could grow. Such a development was never possible with Young Sheldon, as the parent series had to set up Sheldon's regression to the socially inept genius he was in the Big Bang Theory, making Connor the more interesting character to watch between the two. Hopefully, Georgie and Mandy's First Marriage Season 2 will continue to build on his growth and make Connor's story even more compelling. Thanks for watching.